Welcome to the 51st LEAF, Kansas, LEAF, Legislative Event for Advocacy and Faith. So happy to have you all here, and I'm going to have Pastor Sandra start out with her welcome, and then there will be an announcement or two, and then we're going to go right into the legislative update. So happy to have you all here.
Yes, good evening. Okay, something is falling. Well, I am so glad to be here with all of you. This is kind of my second year. I've been invited to welcome you in this beautiful space of our church. I guess we can all agree that it's beautiful, right? Yes. So today or tonight, on behalf of Advocacy in Faith, Kansas, I would like to welcome you to this gathering as we celebrate the 51st, is it 50?
51st.
Oh yeah, 51st years of faithful public witness. For more than a half century, people of faith across the state have shown up, not to seek power, but to seek the common good. We have come from churches, synagogues, or mosques, not to seek power, but to seek the goodness of so many people. We are a community of believers. We don't only believe in God, but we also believe in the work that we can do together to change the lives of those who are less fortunate. So public policy is never only about the budget and the bills that we can sit and start discussing, but it's mainly about people. And that's why we are all here, because we care about the people. So tonight, we gather not as partisans, but as stewards, not as opponents, but as neighbors, not merely as citizens of Kansas, but as people accountable to one another. So before our program begins, I would like to invite us to pause, to breathe, and remember why we are here. We are here for the people. I invite you to a moment of a prayer and reflection according to your own tradition. Let us think and be really present in this space and also present in the work that we are about to start. Let us pray. Holy One, Creator of every people and every nation, source of justice, mercy, and life, we pause in this place of lawmaking and public trust. Within these walls, decisions are made that shape schools and prisons and hospitals and homes, farms and cities, opportunities and futures. We remember that policies are never abstract. They touch real bodies and real lives. Grant wisdom to those who govern. Give them clarity when issues are complex, courage when pressure is strong, and humility when they hold authority. Guard them from fear, from pride, and from indifference to suffering. Stir in all of us a deeper calling than winning arguments. Teach us to listen before speaking, to seek understanding before judgment, and to pursue justice without losing compassion. May our advocacy be rooted not in anger alone, but in love, love for the poor, love for the stranger, love for children, elders, and workers, love for this land and all who call Kansas home. When debate becomes harsh, give us gentleness. When problems feel overwhelming, give us perseverance. And when we disagree, keep us human to one another. Let this time remind us that lasting change rarely comes through noise or force, but through steady faithfulness. People who keep showing up, keep telling the truth, and keep caring for their neighbors. Lord, I pray that you may bless this gathering, bless those who serve in public office, bless those who advocate, and bless the people of Kansas, and guide us so that the laws shaped here may lead to greater fairness, deeper peace, and a wider table for all. We pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Just a short little thing here. You've got your program, and it has times listed as 6:15, 6:45, 7:30. Those are simply guidelines. We try to stick to them just as close as we can, but please bear with us if the senator and the representative want to go 1 minute over. Let's not make too much of an issue out of it. I have not allowed for question and answers on the program. I didn't put that in, but we will have a question and answer session after the legislative update and also following the other presentation from Customs Creations. So like I say, let's just be happy with the day we have, and I'm sure our lives will not depend on 5 or 10 minutes here or there. Would y'all like to come up and sit at the table so we can introduce you properly? We are so fortunate to have Senator Rick Billinger. He is out of District 40, which is way out in western Kansas, and Representative Dr. Melissa Orpeza, who is kind of from the other end of the state. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the words that we have written here because these two people can tell you about themselves a lot better than me reading from a piece of paper. So I'm just going to turn it over to them. Enjoy their presentation and think of the questions and answers that you want to make following their presentation. Have you decided which one will start? Is it on? Well, he said it was all ready to go.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
David, help.
There you go. Well, hello, I'm House Representative Dr. Melissa Orpeza. I'm from Wyandotte County, and my district is in District 37, which is entirely within Wyandotte County. It's a pretty large district now, so it's Armadale, if you happen to know KCK, a portion of Turner, 1 Street in Argentine, and goes all the way out to 94th and State. So carries quite a great distance of territory there in Wyandotte County. I continue to work as a nurse practitioner even while I'm here in legislative session. So the pandemic worked out for me. I'm able to do telehealth here, and they have blocked out some time for me to do that during the week. as well as we have Fridays now, so, which is very nice. So I'm a House representative. I was elected in 2023. This is my second term, fourth session, and it is off and running. It's been very, very hectic thus far, with, unfortunately, not a whole lot of bills that have been what I would have expected of what we heard last year with our elections for the houses every 2 years. From what I heard from our elections, like property taxes, school, so those types of major things that people are very concerned about. Did you want us just to introduce ourselves first and then go on, or? Did you want us just to introduce ourselves, then go on, or?
That's entirely up to however you two want to do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, then I'll go on. So I currently serve on legislative modernization and health and human services, and then I also serve on social services budget as the ranking minority on that social services budget, which we just got done doing our budget for those wonderful things that are now being dealt with in appropriations. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, there haven't been a lot of bills brought up, at least up until now, that particularly addressed constituents' concerns, at least in Wyandotte County. We've had some bills come up in regards to voting and access to voting. So those have come up, and those were just last week. We'd had some highways, in addition to that, some just various bills that have been brought up. Driver's license identification, immigrant in-state tuition. So those types of bills have come through. So those are some of the main things. The topic for today was supposed to be women and children. So just recently in the House Appropriations, I believe it was either Thursday or Friday of this last week, that a motion was made for $2.5 million to be added to the state budget, and that was to cover the co-pay, if you will, of reduced lunches for some children. And there's just grave concern about fraud, waste, abuse, unfortunately, and I don't sit on appropriations, but it was a very interesting point of view, especially since we're talking about children who are in our public schools. And I can tell you from social services budget that we gave $1 million to Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I fail to see how we can correlate those two things and not do $2.5 million for the state of Kansas. It ended up being about $130.23 per child, given the numbers that they were talking about. So for me, that was really an interesting no vote to not add that into our state budget. From my perspective on healthcare, there's a lot of other additional things that are coming up, especially that I know will be detrimental to rural Kansas. We want to expand practice for anesthesia assistants. Now with that, they cannot practice alone like our certified nurse anesthetists can. So you always have to have an anesthesia assistant with an anesthesiologist. And if anybody knows anything, even a little bit about healthcare, anesthesiologists get paid very, very well. So in saying that, they can be very costly for any small organizations or small hospitals or facilities. So that will be coming up this next week. Spoke out against that, given my background and what I know and who I know and how it will really affect rural Kansas. I'm hoping that doesn't go, unfortunately, past the House floor, but you never know. Unfortunately, I just feel it would be very detrimental for our rural areas because we do have a lot of nurse anesthetists out in rural areas. So in addition to that, some additional bills we've heard about expanding some compacts, which is always great, getting people into the state and being first, especially in compacts, because then it gives Kansas a seat at the table when they're actually drawing up what is kind of the overall base if you're one of the first, I believe, 7 to 8 states to say okay to a compact, which is really nice to have us at the seat of the table drawing up those guidelines and how that will be developed and what everybody else will have to follow. So then we can make sure that it's definitely covered for us. Compacts have worked out great for nursing. They have one license and you can kind of float between states as long as they are within the compact, which is always good for workforce. That way there's no delay when people are coming into our state. In addition to that, I have not seen any particular bills in regards to women, and I was assuming, is there any more additional information does anybody have any questions? Oh, you want to get questions? Okay. So, from my perspective, nothing real specific to either maternity, care, motherhood, those types of bills I've not seen come up. They do, on occasion, they're talked about in various committees, but I haven't seen a specific bill targeting women's health care, those types of things. There is hope that we will have some type of a breast cancer screening this time come across the floor and actually stick within the budget, so there is hope for that as well. There's a few bills that the Democratic caucus has put forward, like paid maternity leave, those types of things, paid leave, increasing wages within the state, kind of those things that everyday people need to see. And unfortunately, turnaround is just this coming week, so unless it's had a hearing, yeah, I know, turnaround is literally around the corner. So we'll be hearing quite a few bills, and then going from there, and if I don't know the answer, I can definitely get it for you. I'm hoping everybody's paying attention to the $220 million that we did get for the rural transformation that came down from the federal government. That is now going on, and they are expecting things to start fairly quickly with that money coming in and being dispersed for those. So the goal with that is not to create new programs, but to create the sustainability of things that are already happening within our state and expanding those projects in rural Kansas, which is so greatly needed. Being from Wyandotte County, I literally can throw a rock and hit 5 or 6 hospitals. It takes nothing for me to drive somewhere on either the Missouri side or the Kansas side. But in rural Kansas, you're looking at an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and depending on if it's specialty care, maybe even further to drive for that, or even going into another state, Oklahoma, Colorado, those areas in which we border. So I'm really excited about the rural transformation. It's very, very specific in how the money is going, or needs to be spent. CMS is definitely keeping a close eye on that. So I was very happy to see that KDHE director is coming tomorrow. I'm hoping she'll share all of those wonderful things with you and then the progress as it goes on, because they are keeping very, very close account of that money. And I'll be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And first off, thank you for the invitation to be here this evening. Appreciate that. Carolyn, thank you for the letter and the invitation. I'll try not to talk about the same subjects that the representative talked about, but visiting with Carolyn, she said that some of you may be involved with CAPERS, so I told her I'd just give a brief update on CAPERS. When I first came to Topeka in 2011, CAPERS was one of the 3 worst state-funded pension plans in the country. It was California, Illinois, and Kansas. We were funded at about 54%. That meant if we'd have went bankrupt, just like the Teamsters did, if you thought you was going to get $2,000 a month, you'd have got about $1,000. So happy to report that a few years of work, hard work, and I want to tell you a couple of people responsible for that. Stephen Johnson, our current state treasurer. The guy is amazing when it comes to finances. And Jim Denning, who's from the Kansas City area. Those two guys, when Governor Brownback said, we got to fix this, when we promise people that when they retire, they're going to get this particular check, it needs to be there. And so these two guys were the most involved in getting this all changed. And during the change, we moved to what they call Tier 3 from Tier 2. And there's been some folks at the Capitol, in particular new representatives and senators, that think we ought to look at doing away with that. But most companies, if you get a 401k, you choose what you're going to invest the money in, and if it does well, you do well. If it doesn't do well, you just didn't do well. Capers 3 has a guarantee, 3% return, even if the market's down. Doesn't matter. So that's very good for our state employees. They're guaranteed a minimum of 3%. Anyway, we did add it. We had $1 billion one year, $500 million, and another $1 billion. We got it funded to just a little over 80%. And back in about 2019, I carried Senate Bill 9, which was the first time in 25 years we made the actual required contribution. 25 years, that's a lot of administrations, both Democrat and Republican, that didn't really see a need in doing that. So I will report our investments last year made 13.3%. We earned over $2 billion. So as long as we keep this up, we'll hopefully get the unfunded liability behind us. We're still now only funded at about 74%. The Capers board re-amortized. And when they did that, we're putting in less and added on years. It's like a home that you have financed for 20 years, and at year 15 you go into the bank and say, well, I'm tired of making a $1,000 a month payment, I only want to make $800. They say, fine. Now instead of paying it off in 5 more years, it's 10 years. That's kind of what the state did, which was something that I did not agree with, and I don't agree with it. But anyway, Capers is in good shape now. We're funded at 74, 75%. Still have the unfunded liability. Something else that I visited with Carolyn about, tax freeze. How many of you are 65 or older? Good amount of folks. Did you know your home property tax is frozen? Anybody know that? If you are 65 or older, if your home is valued at $350,000 or less, and if your income is $58,044 or less, not counting Social Security, your property tax is frozen on your home. I believe it was in 2021 when it was frozen. I did bring some copies of this for everyone because I figured most of the time when I speak to senior citizens, they don't even know this exists. So anyway, I'll share that with you. Another thing, medication, the cost of it, very out of hand. And the cost of medication has gotten worse and worse and worse. There's a bill in the Senate, it's Senate Bill 360, and I've been getting a lot of emails from folks. It's called the pill tax. You had any of them? Yes. Okay. Anyway, it says vote no on this bill because of the pill tax. You're putting a pill tax on everyone. Well, here's my response. Thank you for contacting me regarding Senate Bill 360 or the alleged pill tax. I assume you responded to an ad sponsored by the Pharmacist Benefit Managers, which is PBMs, and large insurance companies who call their group the Kansas Employers for Affordable Health Care, who are motivated to protect their bottom line. Actually, here's what goes on. Senate Bill 360 reforms PBMs who have turned into be billion-dollar industries While consumers pay more at the pharmacy counter, over the years, these insurance companies and their subsidiaries have been hiding behind various names to add costs and fees, while they direct their patients and payments to pharmacies that they own and control. In fact, PBMs have been reimbursing independent pharmacists less than what it costs the pharmacy to purchase the drug, which is unsustainable, and why we have seen independent pharmacies in rural communities close in Kansas. PBM's lavish budget allow them to hide while adding cost to everyone's prescription. I believe they're like in the top 5 in the nation as far as profits. What else did I write down here? Carolyn also asked me to talk just briefly about K-12 education. We settled with the courts 8 years ago, whenever that was, and we've made every payment every year on time and the exact amount it was supposed to be. Unfortunately, the last 4 or 5 years, inflation has really killed us. So all our increases are tied to CPI, which inflation is just. This year, we'll add another $159 million to K-12, just because of the CPI. That's on top of the 100 and some million last year and the 100 and some million the year before. Since the lawsuit, I don't have the exact amount, I apologize, but it's over $1 billion in additional funding. So just a little brief deal on that. She asked me about the telephone bill in the schools. I told her all I do is the budget, so I failed to tell you what I do as far as that goes. But the telephones, I believe that's a local control. Each school district, tell the kids, put them in their lockers, however you want to do it. So that's what that is. I'm just going to back up just a little bit because I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Rick Billinger from Goodland, Kansas, which is in the northwest part of the state. I have the largest district in the state of Kansas. I represent 14 counties. It starts at mile marker 175 and goes to 0. So my district is 175 miles long. I represent Cheyenne, Decatur, Rollins, Norton, Phillips, Graham, Sheridan, Thomas, Sherman, Wallace, Logan Grove, Trigo, and Ellis. So it's a very large district. A couple of other things. A few years ago, and it's been, I don't know exactly how many, but Jim Denning, Senator Denning, I was talking about earlier, he was also on Ways and Means with us. And he came into committee one day and he said, Rick, he said, we got to do $5 million to KU Cancer Center. I said, Jim, for what? And he said, well, as a designation, to get KU designated as a cancer hospital. And Jim left, and a couple of years later, we put another $5 million with that. And KU got the designation of being a cancer hospital. 3 in the country at that time: Mayo, MD Anderson, and KU Med. And the reason I bring that up is I'm so proud that we were able to help KU. They're building a brand new cancer center at KU Med. The cancer center should be done in the next year, I believe. But Kansans will be able to go there and get top treatment in the country. Another thing that I think everyone in here knows, dementia and Alzheimer's. It's getting to be just rampant. Had an opportunity a couple weeks ago. I had a phone call from representative, and he said, would you mind coming to Kansas City and having dinner with Dr. Jeffrey Burns? I go, well, what's this about? He's one of the top dementia, he's also a doctor, but he is also, his program there is one of the top in the country. So I went and had dinner with him. He said, Rick, if we could just get a little bit of money. He said, our medications, our processes have improved so much. If we could get a little money to help. He thinks he can get to a cure for Alzheimer's, and he's guessing in 3 or 4 years. Today they have a blood test that can tell people if they have the markers or if they have dementia or whatever. So in this year's budget, we have money for Dr. Burns and KU dementia studies. So let's see. I guess that's about it. I will mention, I do Senate Ways and Means. I've been in the Senate 10 years. I've done budget for 10 years. And so fortunate to be able to do this. We do try hard. You know, when it comes to the state budget, so many things are just already baked into the cake before we ever start. You know, K-12, like I mentioned, the funding there, that's there. We can't adjust it, do anything else. Our FMAP changes, and if it changes in the wrong direction, we got to put additional funds in. All the human services, you know, that rises a lot, but some of the things, we have Jerry Michaud here. Jerry works with the IDD community. Those are the kind of folks that we need to fund. We can't kick that can down the road. A few years ago, Jerry and some of his colleagues came in and they said, we're losing our help to Chick-fil-A because they pay $11 an hour. $11. I said, well, what are we paying? It's under $10. And we've worked on that the last few years. We've got it a little better, but it's still, for that kind of work, it's still not even close, not even half of what it should be. So anyway, the representative and I, we'd sooner take questions than talk and talk. So thank you for the opportunity.
Hello.
Okay.
Ruth Jansen from Ottawa, Kansas. I was wondering where we're at on attempts by the federal government to purchase property to put in large-scale immigrant detention centers in the state of Kansas.
I don't know. The only thing that I was aware of was there's a facility in Leavenworth, and I think they were trying to lease that possibly. I would let them know there's one in Burlington, Colorado that's close to me, and our folks out there would appreciate the jobs.
So for Wyandotte County, they just are in the process, the unified government, which is the local government in Wyandotte County, is passing city ordinances to ensure that is not an option for at least the next 2 years. And that's on a local level.
Oralee Sanders from Topeka, Kansas. Senator, I have a question about Kansas Senate Bill 471 that addresses upping the minimum wage from $7.25, which it is current, to $16 an hour, knowing that a living wage is 3 times our minimum wage, which is over $21.
Thank you for the question. I'm not familiar with that bill in particular, but when it comes to minimum wage or whatever you want to call it, I think that's already set by the employers. I think every employer in Topeka, they set what they feel like they can pay their people, and I don't think there's very many people make $7 an hour. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't even think kids working at McDonald's, I think they're probably making $15 or better. I don't know. I don't know. Well, that's why I say whatever the market is, but if you put things in writing, you say you got to charge, or you have to pay X amount, they're going to go wherever they can get the probably maybe AI or whatever it might be. I mean, you walk in some of these restaurants now and there's a chart, there's nobody even taking your order. You go in there and you have to punch it in on the chart, go over here at the Wendy's here on Topeka Boulevard. There's nobody waiting on you, but that used to always be people doing that. So, you know, and I don't know if that's because of the wages or whatever, but I was in business almost 40 years, and I'm here to tell you I paid what I could pay and keep my business open. There were months when I made sure I paid my help, and my paycheck went in the drawer because I didn't have enough money in my account to pay it. I mean, you know what? When you own your own business, I think those folks set the wages. That's just me.
Can you, either one of you, address the upping the minimum wage and finding the deterrence of the poor in our state?
I don't think that bill will even get a hearing.
Well, from our caucus's standpoint, we've introduced such bills as well on the House side. Unfortunately, they don't get hearings.
On our side, we have a couple people running for governor, and that's why it was introduced. And you read it in the paper, you know, but the chances of that going anywhere are 0.
Just an observation, I think that's one of the fallacies, though, of now the corporate-owned businesses and when we had private businesses paying people, because corporate businesses pay the least amount they can pay, not like you did when you were doing business. Any other questions? Oops, don't want to walk on you.
Mike Peters. I worked for the state for 32 years, and I was a budget person for what is now Children, Youth, and Families, working with Medicaid. And my question is, I've read recently that Medicaid expansion is dead for this year, and is there any chance that is going to be revived? Because it will help a lot of people that need medical care.
Unfortunately, we took several votes last year on, was it last? Yeah, last year. We actually had the year before that, in 2024, there was an actual hearing. It never made it out of Health and Human Services. Myself and, it was down party lines. Myself and a social worker were the only healthcare providers that voted for it. And there were, at the time, doctors that sat on Health and Human Services. So I can tell you that vote in 2024. In 2025, there were several amendments that came to the floor. Unfortunately, again, down party lines, was not expanded at that time. And nothing as of this year.
Thank you for the question. the governor didn't even put it in her budget. And I'm like a representative, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And for the record, I voted for it every time, so.
My name is Jane Roth, and I'm from Greene, Kansas. And I'm wondering, are both the Senate and the House of Representatives going to be really able to do anything with the leadership running? Both leaders are running for public office. Are they going to be showboating, or will things go on as they should? But with them running for office, they're also looking for airtime. And I know it's pretty tough being there, and the legislators and the senators want to do a good job, but are they going to be able to overcome the leadership wanting to position themselves for higher office?
Thank you for the question. Well, on my side in the House, we are the super minority. So unfortunately, there is not a whole lot that we can do other than ask for bills to be heard. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Regardless of if it's a good bill or not. So, I mean, to your question, I mean, what we've done thus far, I have not really seen any true benefit to what Kansans wanted with the last election in 2024. And we really haven't done a good job last session, and necessarily not so well this session, and we're already at turnaround.
I really don't think that they're campaigning during session. I haven't seen anything in particular or heard anything. You know, I mentioned just a few minutes ago that the $15 or $16, whatever it was, that was introduced by Senator Holscher, who's running for governor. She's introduced 6 or 7, you know, just so she can say, I tried to get the minimum wage moved up. And there's some others that, and Corson, Senator Corson has introduced a number of bills, and I'm sure he can say the same thing, you know, I've tried, but I really, the leadership, I have not seen anything. I mean, I think they want to get things done, and make sure we're done in 90 days. It's the only thing I've heard.
My name's Debbie Winter, and I'm from the Kansas City area, and I worked for KU Med for 40 years doing payroll. So I know about the CAPERS from the funding and how much the employer matches. Is it going to be possible to get a cost of living for the CAPERS employees, or does it have to wait until the liability is 100% funded?
Thank you for the question. First off, like I mentioned, I've been involved with this ever since I got here. But it's a defined benefit, and there's nothing in there about any COLAs or any kind of payments. I mean, when you sign up for it, this is what you're going to get, and we're trying to make sure you get that. We had this set up that the unfunded liability would have been paid for by 2033, which is, what, 6 years, 7, 8 years down the road, 7 years. And when they re-amortized it, that pushed that even further down the road. And unfortunately, it's going to be beyond that. But here's the problem. Every time we would take funding away, because that's what we would have to do, is take funding away in order to do a COLA, it's that much less money that we've got in our investments. And like I was saying, that 13.3% return last year, you know, it cost us a lot, you know what I mean? And I'm not against the COLA. I know a lot of folks that have retired for a while. It isn't a large amount. My mother was Capers, you know, and she was early Capers. She didn't get a whole lot. I mean, my mother got $350 a month. That's just the way it worked. And she just passed away. She was 104, so she got it a long time. So anyway, yes, that's it. I introduced the bill for the study, so I'm hoping we'll get a hearing now. I introduced it in Ways and Means, which is an exempt committee, but it's going to go to the F&I, which handles the Capers, so that's where that will go. So we'll see, like I said, and not meaning anything will happen, but if they have a hearing and they decide, hey, we're going to put a group together to study this, you never know. But right now, with everything, we deficit spent $700 million last year. $700 million. And we're not the federal government. We can't go $38 trillion in debt. We have to balance our budget. We're spending our ending balance, our reserves is what we're spending. So we've got to be really careful on that. So Capers in pretty good shape, but if we start not making our payments or something, that'll be difficult. And like I said, in 2017 when we did the first time the actual required contribution was made in 25 years, we've done that every year. So we've almost got 8-10 years behind us almost.
Okay, thank you very much, you guys, for being so candid with us and taking your time out to be with us this evening. Just a little card thanking you. And let's all give them a round of applause. These guys do work that we just don't want to do.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to say thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. And I did bring a few copies for the property tax freeze. And if there isn't enough, maybe the church got a copy machine, you can make some. But this is important. If you qualify, use it. I mean, that's why it's there. Anybody that's, you know, senior citizen, and like you're not getting any more on that Capers COLA, here, hopefully this will help you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We wish you all could be here for lunch tomorrow.
Thank you. We've been working over lunch hour.
I understand completely, and like I say, I'm glad that you have these jobs and I don't. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate them coming and sharing with us, enlightening us, and answering our questions for us. And you know, you can contact them anytime. They have phone numbers and email addresses, so be sure to contact them when you have any questions or concerns. So I was in Hays, Kansas, and visited the store called Custom Creations, and I've known about developmental services in Northwest Kansas for many, many years. And our theme is hope through faith. And I believe that developmental services of Northwest Kansas and also the Custom Creations gives many people with disabilities hope. They take the strengths that the people have and use them so that they can add to society and also add for themselves, bring some income for themselves. So I'm very pleased to have Jerry, I wanted to say, I know your name, Michaud here, and he's the director of Developmental Services Northwest Kansas, and Megan Fanistel, who is the coordinator of the Custom Creations. And I know you're going to really enjoy this PowerPoint and their talk to you tonight.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks so much for taking some time out of your schedules to be here and for inviting Megan and myself to come. Thought we'd take a little journey about developmental disabilities, and we won't spend too much time on that because I think you're probably more interested than to hear about Custom Creations and the exciting things that are happening there. But I don't know what folks' experiences are with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but first wanted to say thank you to David, wherever he is. He helped us to get this thing up here, and I wasn't really sure how that was all going to work, but magic is before us, and we're grateful for that. Many things to be grateful for. In many ways, our lives touch the lives of people with disabilities, and there are many lives that serve them every day. In the community, a little bit about DSNWK. We serve, I think, all those counties that Senator Billinger was talking about, and then a few more. We go, if you know where Russell is, we go from Russell to Colorado to Nebraska, and that's our region. We are one of 27 organizations that serve in a gatekeeping role. We wear a lot of hats, but one of those hats is a community developmental disability organization, and I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later here. But if you will, I would like to share a scripture passage with you. My guess is that this is familiar to you all. It comes from Jeremiah chapter 29. And it's very short, but it says, "For I know the plan I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Hopefully you're going to hear that scripture passage come to life as we share some thoughts with you here. Perspective is such an important thing. How we see those around us is so important. And so this theme of hope, so what brings you hope? Well, hopefully you might be informed a little bit more, perhaps even stirred. That would be the hope for this evening. So let's jump right in to the slides. And David, thank you for the training. We'll see how this goes. So valuable perspectives is how do we see a person? It doesn't necessarily have to be a person with a disability, but how do we see our person, these others around us? Do we see the things that they lack, or do we see their strengths, their abilities? How do we see them? Oftentimes, with people with disabilities, it's what they can't do. That seems to be the obvious. They use a chair. They need all these things. But it's a challenge, I guess, for all of us, myself included. Is how do we see people for who they are, what they can do, and not necessarily what they can't do. So very, very good. So I'm going to share, and I'm so glad this actually worked, but I ran across a TED Talk. Maybe you've seen these types of things, but it was a TED Talk by Emily Wright, and in a way we've kind of taken an international journey, because I think is in London when she was doing this presentation, and I've only pulled just a less than 2-minute little blip out of it, but let's watch.
Ten years ago, my son Michael was diagnosed with intellectual disability. His condition is close to autism. It is called Fragile X. I remember that day vividly, not because that news had shattered our family. I remember it because the day started out with the 4 of us in the bathroom. My son, my daughter, my husband, and me preparing for the day. And it ended exactly the same way, with the same 4, preparing for the night. Despite the diagnosis, nothing had really changed. And yet, in our society, such a diagnosis is often interpreted as the end of the world for those who are affected and their families. But I would like to disagree. Such a diagnosis categorizes, triggers some medical, administrative, social system, sure, but it is not the end of the world. I believe that any diagnosis of disability, rather than creating despair, should raise the question of its opposite. Nature is a balanced system. It offers what it takes elsewhere. We call them disabled because they do not have the same capabilities as us, but they might have other capacities elsewhere. A better integration of disabled people in our society might not mean to assimilate them into whatever we deem normal, but rather to understand how they complete us.
Oops. Advance and back. My apologies. So Emily, she said something very important. I thought as we talk about your theme here on hope, she said, rather than creating despair, it should raise the question of its opposite. What's the opposite of despair? My opinion. Hope. Joy. Yeah, that works too. Do you remember the game Password? I hope I'm not the only one. So I love this image of this pair of glasses that can you see hope? And if you don't know what that game of Password is, I'm looking at Megan. She might not know what that is. She probably knows it. You have this like secret decoder. You could like slip the thing in and you could see the word that nobody else could see. In a way, gaining valuable perspectives about people with intellectual and developmental disabilities is in a way, it's kind of like that. I don't have these to give out afterwards. I saw on the publications, it says it takes a village. I think that was part of the message. It takes a village, and it really does. We heard Emily talk from a European perspective. Yes, you have social systems, you have all these kinds of things. Well, we do here, and that's kind of the world that we walk in every day, helping people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But I'm going to do a quick run through, just if you didn't know, a little background, and we'll see if we can bring some light to some things. So what is IDD? Intellectual and developmental disabilities kind of covers a whole scope of things, and it's not so much important that we like understand what these are, but it does help us have a context for the folks that have intellectual disability here, at least as defined in Kansas, and that is that it's onset before the age of 22. It's a lifelong type of reality for folks, and so forth, and that there are certain limitations. And this is really a definition that decides or determines whether somebody is actually becomes part of the system or if they're outside of the system, okay? Just as a perspective. But as we look at these things, I'm struck with, and I'm just going to ask for a raise of hands, of the degrees of separation that we experience in our families is not very far. So if I would ask you, how many in this room has a person with intellectual or developmental disabilities in your immediate family? How many people have it in a second step away? How many people in a third step away? It touches most every one of our lives. I have two nephews, one on one side and one on another, that have an intellectual disability. And so we know what that looks like, and it's not far from any of us. So you heard Fragile X was Emily's son's definition, but let's keep moving through this quick trip down memory. In our state, Senator Billinger spoke of the importance of taking care of people with intellectual disabilities, and he is honestly he's been a champion for those folks. So appreciate that. But in our state, maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't, Our Constitution actually calls for how we are to care and take care of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. They use terms that were old and we might say offensive today, but it was the terms of the day. But their concept was we use the mechanisms for service that were in place that they understood at that time, but they were built in. I think that's really important as a state, that our history says we're going to help folks that experience this in their lives. And so we had this institutional model of service. State hospitals, there was one in Norton, there's Winfield, and K&I still is operating and serving folks, and down in Parsons is another. And I think there were some others around. Topeka State, I think, had was a state hospital here. Not so. When did it close? Managers. Oh yeah. So we had a number of those, and those were our experience. We participated in our journey, and I'll show this graphic of our journey as an organization that began back in 1967. So we'll be celebrating our 60th year in just next year. But we participated in some of the deinstitutionalization that was taking place, and just wanted to share just a quick story. And this is, it moved me. I've been in my role for 34 years, not as president, but working for the organization, 20 years as the president of the organization. But my predecessor told some stories about how that unfolded. And 6 to 8 to 10 people, as they were trying to figure out how we were going to meet people's needs and what was that going to look like in the community. And about 6 or 8 people would walk by on the stage, and they were doing their best to stand up straight and look their very best. And one of them kind of whispered, pick me, pick me. A deep, essential message of, I want to be a part, I want to be in the community, I want to have a life. And amazing things have been unfolding ever since as we looked at a community model of service. And I'm so glad to be a part of that. Our organization grew up out of the grassroots. Parents saying, boy, we've got to find a different way. We have to find a way. We got to find services that are closer for up in Northwest Kansas. If Norton wasn't the option, Parsons was 5.5 hours away. And so those are challenging things for families, and I really appreciated Emily in the TED Talk talking about, well, I beg to differ with you about disabilities. Well, I will say that for parents and those with intellectual disabilities, it's not a cakewalk either. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So this milestone, it's probably hard to read, but back in '67, we had 3 main communities that had some semblance of service. In Hill City, which is about an hour from Hayes, the community of Hayes had our Reed Center, excuse me, and then up in Atwood, which is up in the far northwest corner, we had some things that were going on that people had started. That became more organized in the mid-'70s when developmental services took on its shape, I guess, serving the 18 counties. Thank you. Celebrating 60 years, a lot has taken place, and one of the kind of the fun things that we've been able to do along the way is this thing called custom creations. But before I jump into that, we just had some innovative types of things that unfolded for people. So as a desire, I had 2 daughters. They're grown now, but had either of them had a disability, one of my goals would have been is how can I have something that's close to where I'm at. So that's a kind of one of those fundamental things that I think most people would desire. And so we've worked to do that, and along the way, we've started some services up, but it didn't happen just naturally. We have a center in the Hoxie area, if you've ever been to Hoxie, about 80, 90 miles from Hayes. It came about because there was a parent that had a couple of her sons, and she said, we got to find a way to do this. And so they found a building, and they helped us to build it from the grassroots up. Again, that's really a common theme in terms of how evolution takes place. As we moved along in time, terribly sorry. We'll get there. By the end of the presentation, I'll master this little stick here. This quote is one I've heard probably many more times than really I'd like to. But as we've been around for 50 plus years, we're in these communities. And I was struck that more often than not, people would say, I had no idea, because we helped them to understand a little bit, I had no idea that you did this. And again, it's bringing to life what is invisible otherwise. So I did it. Our mission is to really help people to have a life of dignity, engagement, involvement in their community, a life that they desire. And our values are just the common, what I think we all find is important: honesty, good stewardship, working hard, good enough is not good enough, all those kinds of things. But I wanted to share a story about our mission that I think you'd really appreciate. It just really touched my life. We were at one of our community foundations was doing a Give Fest in Hayes in Ellis County. And so I was sitting at the desk or at the table with about 30 or 40 other local nonprofits and service organizations. And the genius that came up with the idea, it was not my idea, it's a genius idea, was to had a donor that gave some money that allowed every fifth grader in the area to have $10, not for their pocketing, but they had to go around the room and figure out where they're supposed to put their $10. So the training up the young in the ways that you would want them to go was something that happened. It was just kind of magical. But one little boy in particular came up to the table, and you could tell there was smoke coming out of his ears. He was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with this? And he came up to the table where I was sitting, had a little sign. I said, do you have any idea what we do? And he kind of paused, and he said, well, no. He shook his head. And I said, we help people have a good life. We help people have a good life. And the little light bulb went on, and he immediately put his $10 into the basket. And it just touched me that this fifth grader, are we smarter than a fifth grader? He figured it out. He figured it out that we take care of the people around us. So these are some of the hats that we wear. And I won't go through all of these, but our KidLink program is in infant and toddler service. Employment, creative living is our residential settings, and we have nurses. And College for Living is our day service activity where we try to offer classes that are relevant and interesting to the individuals, and we put it on kind of a semester basis, so there's lots of variety in the day. And service coordination is those professionals that work for us that help people navigate the complexity of the intellectual and developmental disability world. Social Security, Medicaid, eligibility. Makes me pull my hair out. So just a little quiz. I didn't say there was going to be a quiz, but just asking your opinion. When you look at our logo, what do you see? Okay, see people? Somebody said two people kind of next to each other, supporting each other maybe? Do you see the heart? Okay, love is at the center. There's a lowercase d in there and an S, but that doesn't really matter. Here's the decoder. We had a consultant that we wanted to take a look at what messages that question, I had no idea what you do. We wanted to try to get to the bottom of that, and our previous logo was a map of 18-county grid of northwest Kansas, which did a great job, by the way, of telling people where we were, but not what we did. And so this person went around to all of our locations and came back with, there's a lot of care and a lot of love that goes on between these folks. There's a lot of support, and there's standing beside, helping people to be successful. And so, share a little insight there for you. Now to what you really all been waiting for. And it's Custom Creations. I just want to thank Megan for venturing out. She's done a great job, and I'll let her give a little bit of background on how she came to us, and then she can tell us about Custom Creations. So, Megan, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Megan Fonsteel. I'm the store coordinator for DSNWK Custom Creations. And I actually started with DSNWK as a volunteer in service to America. I was a Fort Hays student at our Hays University, and I graduated, got an art degree there, and have worked with DSNWK for an art collaboration that we had with our department. And through VISTA program, I worked behind the scenes with Custom Creations before it even opened. And then part-time position became available, and then a store coordinator position came available, and I've been store coordinator for about 3 years now. This evening, I'm going to go over Custom Creations' background, where we are now, our day service programs, and their creations. Custom Creations is an accessible space and storefront located in the heart of downtown Hays, Kansas, on our main street, where the public can easily view the work of our artists, from one-of-a-kind refurbished furniture pieces to smaller creations, from artwork to home decor, and much more. This dream started in 2016, so 10 years ago already. Dustin Olson, a staff at DSNWK Employment Connections, and a crew of individuals with disabilities began taking donated furniture and turning them into beautiful refurbished furniture items. The crew was able to showcase and sell these pieces at Employment Connections' annual benefit sale. And from that overwhelming response to those pieces, Custom Creations was born. Our woodshop crew currently consists of 8 individuals with disabilities who are employed at our woodshop, and they work different days throughout the week. They have learned how to sand, how to stain, paint, use different machinery that we have acquired over the years, and also how to brainstorm new furniture items and products for our store. So this is our space and what it looked like before it became Custom Creations. This storefront had been vacant for about 30 years. With lots of planning and many generous donations, DSNWK were able to acquire this space as our storefront. We're fortunate to have this space renovated into a completely accessible space for everyone. There we go. We opened on October 15th, 2021, so we are approaching our 5-year anniversary. Our storefront has allowed us to connect with the community in new ways, prompting awareness and inclusion and providing knowledge about DSNWK services, Custom Creations, and the abilities of the people that we serve. So being in downtown Hays, We are surrounded by a supportive and active community. We get to host events at our store, giving those we serve the opportunity to learn how to coordinate and host these events and be directly involved with our community. The Bricks of Downtown Hayes has many events that we get to participate in, from our sidewalk summer sale bazaar to Trick or Treat on the Bricks, Christmas Magic on Main Street, which is their holiday open house, a Wines and Steins events, which is a more formal event, and one of our favorites is the Hayes Arts Council's quarterly art walks, where we get to feature a local artist in our space, or a Fort Hays State University Art Senior Exhibition, or even one of our very own artists. All these events and being part of Downtown Hayes increases the amount of new people coming into our store. We get people who have been in multiple times and people who are discovering our store for the very first time. So to keep our store fresh, every other month we take furniture that has been there for a while and swap it out for new furniture that our woodshop crew has created. Our biggest flips, we call them flip days, and these flips that are the biggest are spring, fall, Christmas. Our individuals served love Christmas time, so we deck it all out for that. So you could see a crew loading some furniture into the store. We have another crew of individuals, which consists of about 2 staff and 3 persons served with disabilities from Employment Connections, who help move furniture and larger inventory, as well as deliver purchase furniture to local customers, which increases their community engagement as well. So as Custom Creations continues to grow, there are exciting things always happening. We are beginning to host different community art classes where people from the community get to work alongside our artists for an evening on a project. This gives our artists an opportunity to interact with others, to share their story, and maybe even some of their artwork in the store, and maybe try and sell that. We have new machinery. We have a Glowforge machine, which engraves on wood, and we also have a computer numerical machine, which cuts into thicker wood, which increases what products we can create and offer to our customers. In spring 2025, we reached a milestone of creating our 1,000th piece of furniture. We utilized our social media platforms, both on Facebook and Instagram, to create polls for our customers to vote on the piece to be refurbished, which is the bottom picture there. And they got to pick what it got to be turned into, what style it was going to be, the colors, additional features from the hardware to if it would have lights or not. And they picked it was going to be turned into a bar. And later that spring, we got to unveil that piece at a chamber chat. This is probably my favorite part about Custom Creations. Fort Hays State University Art and Design Department has a class called Community Engaged Art. This is a course where students can go out into the community and engage in art practices with individuals that are underserved in art and create a positive social change. For the past 3 years, this class has collaborated with our artists and to create art and products for Custom Creations. This class has doubled in size to now having 10 artists with disabilities and 10 students involved each semester. Many of these students come back the next semester to take an advanced course because they have just loved the experience and the people that they have met. These students are not just art majors either. We have had students come in who have been majoring in psychology, social work, even agriculture, and education. So during this community-engaged art class, our artists got to design large banners alongside the Fort Hays students that are now on the side of the Arc of the Central Plains thrift store, which is also on our main street in Hays. The Arc of the Central Plains is also an organization that advocates for and supports individuals with disabilities. Custom Creations has 3 individuals with disabilities through DSNWK employed at our storefront who work there throughout the week. So Custom Creations is also providing community employment for our individuals. They assist staff, they greet and welcome customers in, as well as tell them our story, and keep maintaining a clean environment. So I'm going to give a little story about one of our artists. Her name is Angie. She is our abstract artist. She uses her eyes to paint. So what does that mean? So Angie has a neurological disorder called Rett syndrome, which nearly affects every aspect of her life, from her ability to speak, walk, talk, eat, and use her hands. So her parents got her an eye gaze device called a Tobii Dynavox, and it's sort of like a tablet, and it sets on a table in front of her. And she can use her eyes to click on various buttons on the screen to communicate with her parents, her caregivers, and her peers. Her parents downloaded a program called the Jackson Pollock program. And as we know, some of you may know, he is a very famous abstract artist. And it's just a blank canvas on her screen. And she uses her eyes to go to a color, and then moves her eyes across the screen, maybe stay in one spot and create a circle. So she too can create art, and we are able to take her digital abstract art and be able to put it on mugs or coasters or canvases and sell those items in the store so that she can have the same experience as her peers. So DSNWK has 6-day service programs within Northwest Kansas. We have Atwood, Hays, Hill City, Hoxie, Norton, and Russell. We have had around 100 artists participate in our store throughout the years, and every artist has a tag with their picture and name on it. So when our customers come in, they get to see who made the product that they are purchasing. Our artists also receive a commission from these sales, giving our individuals served who necessarily may not be able to have a job out in the community a chance to earn a small income. Our first stop is Atwood. Atwood is a group of very high-functioning individuals, and they are very independent in their crafts. They love to experiment with new materials, even though they are known for their wood signs, and some are very good with a sense of humor, so they're very funny. But they have now gotten into making items with resin, so they've been experimenting with that. So they have made such things as bookmarks or various signs just to increase the amount of product that we have in the store. The gentleman on your left, he entered his piece into the county fair, and the local county fair, and he got first prize. On to Russell, Kansas. Individuals at this location are a little lower functioning, so staff in Hayes create kits of a project to send to them. These kits include materials such as pre-cut wood or collage elements. So the Kansas item you see there was a kit, and it came with step-by-step instructions. This aids day service staff in assisting their artists in creating that piece. We have Norton. Norton receives a lot of our project kits as well. They do not always have the finest of motor skills, so the staff has a lot of hand over hand. As seen in the picture on your right, she is helping a young lady hold her paintbrush to paint the object in front of her. But we also try to develop new ways of sanding or staining so that they can create an item as independently as possible. So some examples include maybe someone cannot grasp a paintbrush. So a staff will blow up a balloon to fit their hand, tape a sponge to it, and they get to dip that in paint and paint the object. Or we have another young lady where her arm goes to about her elbow. But she's a very detailed, wonderful artist with her right hand. So we put a piece of tape on the back of the object, and she holds it down with her elbow, and then gets to paint her object without having to ask a staff to help her, and without that object moving around on the table. Hill City makes some of our most popular items. We have, they make yard Yahtzee games. Those are very popular around the Christmas time. And they also have what's called a sublimation machine, which is a heat press. And we're allowed to, not only do they make their own bags for the Yahtzee games, but they can make everything from car coasters, marble coasters, mugs, bags, t-shirts, and even our name badges. Hayes has 2 locations, their day service program, which is Reed Center, and Employment Connections craft area. They are higher functioning and are more detailed in their craft, and we try to encourage them to lean into their artistic expression. We also have a variety of different weaving looms where artists can create scarves or table runners and many more projects. The lady pictured there, she started to weave a long time ago, learned, and she can weave forever, but her mom has to pick her up at some time. So we have weekly art classes as well at our Hayes location. So a staff from that day service program, Reed Center, come and about 6 to 8 individuals served come to the store for about an hour on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons to create a project at our storefront location. This allows them to have time out in the community, as well as customers get to come in, talk with them, ask what they're making, and our artists tend to sell their items during that time as well, giving our customers a little nudge. And then we also get to, during that time, we get to connect with Hoxie artists. And we're able to do that with some technology that we have in our space. We have a TV, and we're able to video chat with them during that time frame. So Hoxie is also a group that is high functioning and are very detailed in their art. But this time to communicate with their peers is very important. They get to show what they're working on. What did you do this week? This is what I did. This one lady, she loves to come up real close to the TV screen and show off her new manicure. And it's just, whereas usually they would only get to see each other 2 to 3 times a year when the whole Northwest Kansas that DSNWK serves gets together. Now they get to see each other weekly. Our store is not possible without generous donations from our community. So for example, we have a local trust plant who donates extra lumber that would eventually just go to the landfill. And then we also have community members who donate solid wood furniture and art supplies that they are not currently using. So these are just some examples of amazing items that our wood shop has created, from furniture to the Kansas item in the bottom left-hand corner that utilizes our Glowforge machine as well as our CNC machine. We have, Dustin Olson is also a very talented painter, so the dresser in the bottom right-hand corner, he can paint scenes on those dressers, and they're very beautiful. The hutch, where you see vases, we do not do pottery work yet. We have not reached that potential, but that was a Fort Hays art student having her senior exhibition in our space. So it's good to have those students get involved with us as well. These are just some photos that include customers, events, and our artists. The large group picture, that is our group from Hill City. They just took a trip up to see us and see their items in the store. They kept going around saying, "Here's your tag, here's your tag." And these are just some testimonials and photos of furniture pieces in our customers' homes. We do get people that kind of just look around and be like, "They do this?" And it's like, yes, they do. They are talented, they learn and develop new skills as they go along. So here are just some before and after photos, just to give you more of an idea of how our woodshop crew transforms pieces. Sometimes they add new elements to it, like these slat pieces of wood to new hardware. Sometimes they combine 2 or 3 or even 5 different donations and create something totally different. This piece started out as a headboard, and they turned it into a small bar. And they also got to utilize our Glowforge machine for the design on the back. So I know we've seen this type of furniture before. They would have our entertainment centers that would have a TV in it. No one knows what to do with them anymore. And they many times go to the landfill because how do you use it? So we're like, we'll take it, and we turn them into mudroom benches, kids' wardrobes. This last Christmas, they turned one into like a little wood shop play area for a young boy or girl. And so we can literally turn anything into anything. We also get these donated, and we try to fix them, but many come in missing so many pieces or broken. So why not turn it into a drink cart? Some pieces come in broken, and then they just have to figure out how to make it completely new again. So in this piece, they removed some doors and added crates and painted it a brand new color. This piece was probably the worst piece that was ever donated. It was weather worn, it was broken, but they still managed to sand it down, put it together, and make it into a brand new piece of furniture. So we are on social media. I do have some business cards and brochures if you're interested, and a QR code here that goes straight to our website. But if you're ever in the Hayes area, we would be happy to have you in our store. It is truly a beautiful place, as well as downtown Hayes. So thank you for this evening, and I'll let Jerry close out with a few more words.
Even if you didn't come for the furniture and all that amazing stuff, I mean, hey, again, you just stop by and see her. She's worth stopping in. So does a great job. A couple of quotes that didn't make it on the list. A husband saying, "You can't let my wife come in here anymore." Or the parent who was traveling across the country and saw what was happening here, had a child of their own that has a disability, and she says, "This place gives me hope. This place gives me hope." Amazing things. So no matter what your job, what your role is, live it with purpose. That's what we try. This is not just a catchphrase. It's part of what we do and what we're about. And helping others is an amazing thing. It's hard work, very hard work, but it's so impactful on the individuals, but on ourselves as well. So what is value? What is valuable? What is seeing? What is seeing in proper perspective? This is a prayer that I pray most every day, is give me right perspective that I might see as I should see those around me. And so it changes everything. It really does. Our contact information, this is pretty hard to read. We're glad to visit with anyone afterwards. And, you know, your theme was really pretty fitting, and so we very much appreciate the chance to come and share our story, a little bit of it anyway. But wanted to share this picture with you, which is really hard to see, but there's a lot of people that came for what we call it takes on different names, but we called it the Spring Fling. And we hosted in Hayes, and everybody comes and they get just have a grand time, share a meal, share some fun and games, and really just have a good time being together. But I ran across this verbiage that relates to hope, and it goes like this. It says, "Hope is more than optimism. It's the belief with confidence through faith," and then I'll add to that prayer and faith and the action that has to follow. So thank you so much for your attention and for hosting us here and having us here. Thank you.
Questions? Well, thank you very, very much for coming. You don't know how much we all admire the work you're doing. And many of my age group remember when these people were not to be seen or heard.
Yes.
And it's so great that has changed. You see them working in grocery stores, you see them out. It's just wonderful to have. And again, thank you for what you do. You don't know how much we appreciate you coming.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
It's a little token of our appreciation. I should have thought that before I tell you, I had the worst time with her name. I have a friend at home that's name is Sheila, and I kept trying to make Megan Sheila. And then she has 3 N's in her name, and my Sheila only has 2. Thank you so much again. I think you're on. Thank you all so much for coming, and we're going to close out with a little good night prayer, and we will see you all tomorrow, bright and early, and ready to go.
Well, thank you so much, Carol, and thank you to all of you for being here and the conversations that are happening in this place. This is a great blessing, and we just pray that these conversations will not end here. They will continue outside, and thank you for all the work that you're doing in different communities. Well, let us pray, I guess. Lord, we thank you once again for the space that you have allowed us to be in and to see around us and to see the people that we may sometimes be missing, seeing. And Lord, as we come before you, we're just so grateful for the opportunity to gather here and to have these conversations. So as we move from this place, I pray that you may continue to speak to our hearts and that your Holy Spirit will continue to open our eyes and our hearts and our mind to see the people that need the most of our presence and our help in our communities, and that we may be there for them because that's what you have called us to do. Be with us as we move from this place, and may your blessings be with us, and until we meet tomorrow, in the name of Jesus, we pray and say, Amen. Let's go in peace and see you tomorrow.